much I need you.
The illustrious Jabba bids you welcome. I'm going to regret this.
I'm Pete Mitchell. He's Peyton Jones. And this is the Church Planter Podcast, brought to you by Church Planter Magazine.
Hey, Church Planter.
So,
it's Pete Mitchell.
I can't hear you, but Grogu.
I just said, hey,
real.
Church Planter. This is Pete Mitchell. Now you say your name.
Are we starting?
Yes.
Oh, you better start over.
I'm not starting over. I am not editing because of you.
Why did you wait till I was away from the mic to start?
Why did
it's
you
not like we've been doing this.
Mike, I don't understand.
I was showing you Grogu.
I don't think this episode's going to go the way you think it's going to go.
Really?
Yeah.
What? Okay. So, welcome to the Church Planter.
Thank you.
Welcome to the Church Planter Podcast. I am Peyton Jones. This is Pete Mitchell. And we are joining together for a special holiday episode of the Church Planter Podcast. But because it's our holiday episode, we get to do what we do every week, basically, we just talk a bunch of smack. But because it's holiday, we're going to give you and us some time off. We're not talking about church planning, which means I'm doing no work today. Pete never does that part. So I
sit there and go, that's it.
No, you don't even do that.
That's because you never let me talk. Okay, you never let me talk on the podcast.
Hey, it's the holidays. This is when all the emotional pain, the wounds open. And hey, hope you guys are being blessed with your family. Be sure, friends, to bring up politics around the Christmas table in your gatherings of 2 or 3 families or less.
That would be a do as I say, don't do as I do governor decree.
Yes, it would. And by the way, I might add to you that, as bad as we have it, we don't have it as bad as Wales. Wales has mandatory lockdowns, like you are, boom, like we are still more free than what we think. But here's the deal.
And they don't in Wales.
They announced at midnight, they announced earlier in the day, like 6 p.m. They're like, we're going to be on mandatory lockdown again starting at midnight tonight. So everybody went flipping nuts. We just got a message from Wales yesterday where they're like, hours of warning. So people were like stampeding stores, huge lines down the block. You just can't do that to people, It's just not right. So
I'm telling you, man, they would totally do that to us here in California if we didn't have so many guns. Yeah. I'm just saying. Our governor would totally do it.
Perhaps.
What do you mean, perhaps?
Well, I think America right now is beyond the point of accountability. Look, until somebody does rise up and say, look, enough. Like, for example, happy holidays, everybody. Holy days. I'm not taking Christ out of it. But here's
it's all right. This is going to air after Christmas.
Well, here's the deal. When I saw what was in that stimulus.
What do you think is going to happen when 2020 turns 21 and can start drinking? Yeah.
So, but honestly, when I saw what was in the stimulus bill, and apparently it's not too different from what's in every single major bill that gets passed, all of this nonsense. Okay, I watched Trump's thing yesterday where he came on and pointed out some of what was in it. And I watched a few other videos on it. Now, I'll be honest. I take everything that everyone says with a grain of salt. Doesn't matter if it's Trump or some guy on YouTube. I don't know ever if I can really believe what's being said.
Right. By either side.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing. But I am convinced that both Republicans and Democrats right now are just plain evil, man. Like the amount of paybacks and grease palms and, I'll do this for your little agenda and working for the lobbyists. Like there was no concern for the American people from either Republicans or Democrats in that bill. I know that America collectively feels screwed right now by our leaders. Like, really? That's what you did? I didn't get a stimulus check, nor do I want a stimulus check.
I want mine and yours, but I didn't get them either.
Yeah, but my thought is, dang, there are people that really need this. The restaurant industry needs help. Small business owners need help. That's where that money should be going. And I was horrified, to be honest, yesterday about that.
Yeah, no, it's no, I agree. It's really evil seeing these guys. And I thought, one of the great memes was, it's one of the oldest tricks in the book. You take someone's money from them and then you give them a little bit of it back. And you're like, oh, see, look how great I am. Look at what I'm doing for you. And It's like, yeah, dude, you guys take tens of thousands of dollars from me every year.
Right.
And
here's $600, Pete.
And which I don't even get. And it's like,
the best meme I saw on this was, keep in mind, not a single one of these politicians has gone a day without their paycheck.
Yeah.
That to me says it all, right? So,
yeah, it does.
But anyways,
is that for a holiday special?
It's really, really good, my friend.
What is?
Our holiday special. We haven't even gotten into it yet.
You weren't paying attention. That's all right. So let's talk about Mandalorian, because that's what you wanted to talk about today. So
I do. Okay. So before we get into it, everybody, this is absolutely a spoiler. We are not going to hold.
First of all, you can't call it a spoiler at this point, because if you haven't watched The Mandalorian by now, you're not watching The Mandalorian. Like, you're not part of the crew that's watching The Mandalorian.
Right.
Okay. You probably don't even have Disney Plus. I mean, really, let's think about it. If you haven't watched it by now.
Yeah, but don't you look, I do feel bad. There's usually like a 2-week rule, right? Like unspoken rule for video games, for whatever it is, that if there's spoilers, you don't talk about it. That is the professional standard in the industry. But if you give a spoiler alert
on quarantine,
like I'm giving,
2 weeks is about 2 minutes in real time.
We should have that soundbite from Mars. What's the one? Not Mars Attacks. 2 weeks.
Oh no, that was Total Recall.
Total Recall. Get ready for a surprise. Boom, and then we go into our spoiler. Oh, that would be so good if only we had that. But anyways, so, okay, Mandalorian, we got to talk about the season finale. If you've not seen it, you need to back up right now, my friend. Get the heck out of here. Get out of this podcast and get your butt in front of your sofa. Order Disney Plus today. That's right, my friends. Don't stop. Don't pass go. Don't collect $2. Get it today. Right? That's why I can't be a salesman.
I know. Okay, so let me set it up. You call me Friday, I don't know, early evening, late afternoon, something like that. And you're like, so? And I'm like, so what? Like, I was like, I had no idea what you were talking. What'd you think? What'd I think about what? And I was like, what did I say? It was like some movie you told me to watch or something. I don't know. Some other movie we were talking about.
Oh, I don't remember.
And then you're like, Mandalorian. I didn't see it. I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to watch it tonight. And you're like, call me back as soon as you watch it. Call me back.
Yeah. And
then I think I sent you a text. Hey, did you watch the credits?
Yeah. Hey, did you see the after credits scene? Now, keep in mind, Jon Favreau gave us Iron Man, and he was the first guy that started these, in credit scenes where you stay past the credit in a Marvel movie and you get a clue for the next one. Well, they did that at the end, and a lot of people missed it. But for me, I was watching, I'm like, whoa, there's like 5-6 minutes still when the end credit that something's going on.
And normally they play images like of the episode while they're putting up the
I didn't catch it.
And this was all black. So it was different. The end credits were different.
So what I loved was Bib Fortuna, which I had his action figure, and he was the one that goes, Jabba no Bada, right? I mean, he was a great character. He's all creepy, and I love that. And then anyways, he's a fat cat now. He's taken Jabba's place. Yeah, he's all overweight. He's not quite like Jabba, but he's sitting there like a fat cat, feeling all important.
We thought you were dead.
He's just a slime ball. It was so rad what they did with this character. And of course, Boba just doesn't even say anything to him. Just get out of my way. And sits on the throne. That was a rad ending shot for Boba.
Yeah.
He's going to be the new crime lord. And I'm totally down with that. He's going to start I'm guessing he's going to start a bounty hunter. We're going to see. But what's going to happen to the Mandalorian now? He handed Grogu back.
Good.
You didn't like Grogu?
Not like everyone else. I mean,
I do, man. There's a samurai manga called Lone Wolf and Cub. It's about this samurai who has a baby, and they've totally based this on this because I think we've talked about this before. But Lone Wolf and Cub is what this whole thing was based on, and so he's a samurai traveling, trying to keep this baby alive, trying to get him back where he belongs, and it's that whole whatever you call it. Motif.
Here's let me start in with my problems. This one, for some reason, it just finally cemented for me since they're giving Boba his own show. It again cements for me just how bad the prequels were. Because if that was what was his name in that movie? Was it Django?
Yeah.
Was it Django?
Yeah.
Django Fett?
Yeah.
Why wasn't his armor green? Why was it blue?
Well, the Mandalorian armor is blue.
No, it's not. Well, okay, not the Mandalorian. I'm talking about Boba.
So Boba spray painted because he went rogue. He took his dad's armor and went rogue and became a bounty hunter. So he covered up the fact
his dad was already a bounty hunter.
Correct, which is why he took the job with the Camino.
My point is, why wasn't it green in the prequels? It shouldn't have been that he changed it. It was his dad's armor.
Well, because there was no point for him because
there was no point anytime.
Well, think about it. Jango hid in the shadows. Boba's out in the open, right? Like Boba's out walking around. When you see Jango, he's hiding in Camino. He kind of is out of the, and then he's in the shadows.
It should have been the same color. Like if they're going to make this like he's got his dad's armor, then he shouldn't have changed his dad's armor. He should have been like, it's dad's armor.
No, I love the fact he sprays it and paints it and makes it his own. Like I love that about Boba. I that worked for me.
You know what? I'm going to end this podcast right now because you're just beyond help. You're just beyond.
Hey. We are both true Star Wars fans, just two different type of Star Wars fans. That's what I love about this. Yeah. It's like Christians, like there's a good Christian and bad Christian, and I'm totally the good Christian. You're totally the bad Christian. Amen. It's like Star Wars fans. We're both going to I was looking for, I don't know where we're Dagobah. I mean, we're both going to heaven, right?
Dagobah is not heaven.
I was like, Coruscant, where do I go with this? The Jedi Temple, whatever island that was. Luke was on.
Pre-blow up.
As bad as the prequels were, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that if I took the prequels and the sequels and put them side by side, to me, the prequels win over the sequels.
I'm really going to hang up now.
Really? You like the sequels better than the prequels? Last Jedi, come on. Last Jedi sunk the whole trilogy.
Last Jedi sunk everything. I'll grant you that, but nothing was as bad as those prequels.
Episode 3, and this is where you and I, episode 3 is so good. And most people, they hate on the prequels, agree that 3 was decent.
No.
Yes. No.
She wasn't alive. Yeah, break.
You killed her. So here's the thing, though, right? Like both the prequel and the sequel each had a good episode because I thought Force Awakens was really good. From then on, it tanked. Yeah, it was good. You and I were kind of excited about that one. I love 3 and I love 7. Those two could be redeemed in my mind. I actually love 3. I got to be honest. I love 3. But and I love 7. But other than that, I think I'm good.
I don't know. I thought the first season of The Mandalorian was awful. I watched it because I was like, okay, I'll watch it, but it was awful. They
First
totally
episode
redeemed it in the second season.
Yeah, first episode and last 2 episodes of The Mandalorian. If you took those 3, they the key to all of them is they all had IG-88. All amazing. The story arc in season 1 was good. All the rest was filler. Like, I did not like the one with Bill Burr right before the season finale of season 2. I was like, that was a throw. There were certain ones where you just felt like, why is this even in here? Like, that one was a filler. I didn't need a filler. Let's go, and take off the helmet. And you and I talked about it. It was okay.
I thought it would have been more potent if he hadn't taken off the helmet in the last episode.
Why did they do that? I so agree. So when he takes his helmet off in the season finale, you're like, for Grogu, you're like, oh, but you just did that for an Imperial. Like, right. Okay. Now, granted, he did it for Grogu for different reasons, but I agree. It muted it.
Thing where he only takes off his helmet in the season finale.
Yeah, when you got a big thing that he never does, but you're going to make it a big deal that he did it, kind of make it count and don't do it twice in a row.
Yeah.
So Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, just know that Pete and Peyton over here, we're telling you how to do this.
We're obviously better filmmakers than they are.
Obviously.
No doubt.
Hey, no, it wasn't going to work. I was going to talk about how, they're probably better church planners than we are, but we are definitely the better filmmakers.
Well, you know what they say. Where sin is, grace abounds all the more.
Are you doing your devotions during this? You multitasking.
So tell me your impressions of the whole episode.
I still think, let me back up first. I still think the best episode overall, because this one was different. The last few minutes kind of just changed my life, right? But that aside, because you can't, but if I just compared them episode for episode, still the best one was when he fought that chick near the pond, and Ahsoka Tano was in it. To me, that was still the best episode of the season. That was Dave Filoni's baby right there, where he brings her back. And I still think that was a masterpiece of an episode. But this episode, of course, all they had to do was play the Luke card. And when Luke comes out, it trumps everything. So what I'm interested to hear, Pete, is kind of your take on when Luke showed up. At what point did the penny drop for you? And were you like, oh my gosh, are they really going to do this? Like, what was your feeling when all that was unfolding?
I figured it was him when we saw his black glove.
Yeah.
I was like, that's Luke, because who else would it be?
Did you kind of think, X-Wing?
I thought the CGI was horrible.
Yeah.
I was like, see, this is the problem with CGI. It doesn't look like a real person standing there and talking.
So I watched it first on my phone and it looked rad.
Well,
then I watched it on my big TV and it did not look rad.
Right.
So like any emotion
they were trying to do the Rogue One Darth Vader scene.
They were. I picked up on that. That was confirmed today. I watched a video that talked about it and the guy said, yeah, this is what we're doing. But
the Darth Vader scene, still better.
Oh, of course.
I mean,
well, because Luke's fighting robots. It's not the same.
He's fighting robots, and it was all spread out throughout the ship.
Right. Like
Darth was like, they were all right in front of him, and he was just plowing through them to get to the end.
So Lucas had a term, he would say rhythmic poetry. So he liked seeing those things play out like that, where there was like an opposite of everything. There was like a poetic dance going on. So that's what they were trying to do by literally filming that as if it were Darth Vader coming through the hallway, which was effective, I thought. It was very good, very well done.
My favorite scene in that was the robot that Luke kills just with the Force.
Wasn't that great?
Very last one.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was cool.
Yeah. And it's funny because that's apparently kind of like a Sith, borderline Sith power. So when a Jedi does that, it's kind of like, ooh, it's a little bit naughty. So like Obi-Wan does it to General Grievous.
He did it to a robot. So
Obi-Wan does it when he's Mace Windu does it. Mace Windu does it to Grievous in the cartoon right before episode 3. The reason that Grievous is coughing all the time is because Mace he's one step from the dark side. Mace Windu is like, that's his character. That's why his lightsaber's purple. It's blue and red combined. It is.
Whatever.
No, for real though.
Whatever. That is not the reason why George Lucas did that.
Hey, I read.
George Lucas said the reason why he did it is because Samuel L. Jackson was like, well, I don't want to be a blue or green in the middle of the pit.
I thought that's what Samuel Jackson said. I don't think that's...
Well, okay, and then George Lucas was like, okay, all right, I'll make
it. Because Mace Windu uses something called Vapad, which is like it's just going over into the dark side slightly.
See,
for his fighting style.
No.
It's true. It's
not canon. Vapad. Not canon. Let me tell you what canon is. Canon are 9 movies, a couple of other standalone movies.
Canon is 6 movies because Kathleen Kennedy is gone. And what was Legends, what we call Legends, is now becoming canon. That's what they're doing. Yeah, she's gone. She's out. So she's still there, but she has no power, no creative power at all. They're handing it to Favreau and Filoni now. They are now taking her place.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with those guys running it.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be awesome. I mean, don't forget, Star Wars has been fraught with difficulty even back in Lucas's day. Don't forget the Christmas special. That was the first foray into TV shows. Don't forget Ewoks, which are still super dumb and lame. I don't care what you think about that. Ewoks are lame.
What's the problem with Ewoks?
Dude, all I'm saying is we should have had a planet of freaking Ugnaughts. Ugnaughts were the bomb, man. Little pig dudes in Empire. I wanted a whole planet of them.
Okay. The Ewoks rode the speeder bikes with his legs flying off the back.
That was cool, but it was meant to be cute and chuckly, and it was stupid. But anyways, but dude, so my nickname, I don't know if you remember this, my nickname for Eden used to be the Ugnaught. Do you remember that?
No.
Kind of mean.
You think?
Yeah. You used to call her the Ugnaught.
I thought you called her Supergirl.
Her nose did turn up a little bit. So, Yeah, Supergirl too, when around my wife, but in private, Ugnaught. The Ugnaught. She was the Ugnaught on the podcast. Oh, she did the troll thing to me this morning. Woke me up.
The troll thing.
Remember when she used to come by my bed and like freak me out?
Yeah.
She'd like sneak up in the shadows and I'd feel this hand touch me. And one night, for those of you listening, she woke me up and I thought in my semi-lucid dreamlike state, I pictured a troll touching me and waking me up. So I half saw a troll when I looked over.
What did you say when you saw her?
I don't remember.
I think it was something like, "Oh, troll!" I was like, "Give your poor daughter this freaking complex."
It probably was. Get away from me, troll.
It was something like that. I'd have to go back and listen to that episode.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. But she trolled me this morning, and it was 4:30 in the morning. She is so excited about Christmas. She's 7. But Eden is like the eternal like child. She is just like everything's still magical to Eden. Everything is magical. So she's that kid. And so she's like, "Dad, can we get up?" And I'm like, "No, it's 4:30, go back to bed." And she's like, "Dad, I'm thinking about what present I want to open first. Which one I'm like, "Go to bed." She wants to have this full-on conversation at 4:30 in the morning about presents. One day I will miss this.
So that's not so bad.
Yeah, it's all right. 4:30. I mean, she had a good night's sleep, I suppose. I didn't. But yeah, so let me tell you my thoughts on Luke. So I knew when they said X-Wing, I went into it anticipating, because I had read some dork on the internet who goes, "Man, they've dropped a few hints. It's either got to be Mace Windu's not dead or Luke." And I'm like, oh. So I went in thinking, Luke or Mace Windu, which is it going to be?
We were actually sitting there going, is it Ahsoka? I was like, I don't think she's got an X-Wing, but she was the only other Jedi person we'd seen. So
yeah, dude. So same here.
COVID cough.
Less coughs. Have you noticed?
No.
I'm in Liberty's room temporarily, so I'm not sitting in asbestos anymore, or what? Not asbestos, fiberglass. So this room's done. They're doing my office currently. So, but anyways, so I'm watching it. Brandon Brooks texts me 5 a.m, dude, and I'm up. So he's like, dude, if don't get on social media, whatever you do, it'll ruin it for you. But watch it right now. I know what he's talking about. So I listen, I obey my master, and I will be rewarded. So I actually watch, and I'm sitting there in my office drinking my coffee. It's going.
Watching it on your phone?
On my phone, which shows desperation. Like, I got to watch this thing because I'm thinking, like, it's a big moment for me when I put The Mandalorian on the big screen. I love it.
What's a big screen, like, okay, by the way?
I don't even know the measurements of mine, but it's probably half of yours.
Well, most TVs are.
So, I'm watching it, and the whole episode, to be honest, I didn't think it was that great. And I did not like that the Mandalorian chick gets the best of Boba Fett in that little brawl at the beginning. That really disappointed me.
I don't even remember the brawl.
They do a bit of smack talk when Boba goes, "We don't need these two." And then the girl goes, "Yeah, well, blah, blah, blah.
You're not a Mandalorian. I never said I was." That one.
Yeah. And then they fight and she kicks his butt.
Yeah. But in all fairness, she's probably a bigger fighter than him. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you look at the cartoon, since she used that as canon, but
it wasn't the red-haired chick. It was
the red-haired chick?
Wasn't Bo-Katan or whatever. It was it was some no-namer. And I'm like,
have to go back and watch it.
So I was a little disappointed. Like, you can't do that to my Boba. And then anyways, watch a whole episode. Now, Andrea, my wife, when she watched it my second time through, she was terrified by the Dark Troopers. She was like, her anticipation, the tension for her. She's like, "Oh my gosh, this is the scariest one yet. I can't watch this." And I said, "Whoa, what's up?" She goes, "These are like a million Terminators coming after." I'm like, "Huh, that's kind of true. That's kind of cool." Yeah, I hadn't really thought about it. Like, I'm like, "Oh, droids, Dark Troopers." I played that video game back in the 90s.
Yeah, see, I got a problem with all of a sudden, well, the weakest part was the soldier. We got rid of him, and now it's droids. And I'm thinking, I've seen every droid in Star Wars. Ain't none of them that bad.
Right. Well, yeah, that was kind of a weird line, especially given that he was a geneticist. So, the weakest problem was, organic genes. But I'm a geneticist, and that was my solution. Didn't make sense. So, especially given his pet project. But then when Luke came in, it was so weird, man, because when they said X-Wing, I went, but I thought that could still be Mace, right? That could be anybody. And then I thought, well, that could be Ahsoka Tano, or it could be some Jedi.
Why would Mace still be alive and then have done nothing? Same thing with Ahsoka. Did nothing in Star Wars, Empire, Return of the Jedi. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
That's a really good point. I want to argue with you reflexively because I want him to be alive.
Mace is dead. But why didn't Ahsoka do anything? Seriously.
Dude, I will literally bet you in the next year or two, and I will bet you my Boba Fett helmet. No, I can't because that was a gift. I'll bet you Grogu, even though you don't want my...
I don't want Grogu.
You don't want my Grogu. That's amazing, by the way, everybody. I own a Grogu who is actually... it's the, is it Gentle Giant? No, who's the studio that made him? I don't remember the studio, but Adam Savage. It's the replica. It's like the life-size replica of him. He has hair. He has like eyes that
You're
are
jealous
like
of him because you keep mentioning he has hair. You're like, hey, he's got hair and I don't.
There's some issues, some deep issues coming out right now. But, going back to the whole, I would bet you in 2 years, Mace Windu's back and they bring him back because
Okay,
that's
if
what
they
the
bring him
fans
back,
want.
then I'm sorry. He literally did nothing in Star Wars Empire.
That's true. But, we have this thing, though, right, where Yoda goes into hiding. And Yoda, if Luke hadn't found Yoda, if Ben had not appeared to Luke in that blue ghost on Hoth, Yoda would have never done anything either. And I know you're right. Like, I 100% agree with you with your reasoning, but I think the fans want Mace, including me, want him to come back so bad that we will forgive everything. Like, oh, bring him back. Like, I've seen like images where his eyes are all white and he's all like shocked, white shocked hair. He's all like gnarled and scarred up. It would be awesome, right? Like yeah, I don't know. Boba worked for me. How he's all beat up and like burnt, and I was so into that, and how he's all old and stuff. I'm like, this is the coolest way to reintroduce Boba Fett, where he's just old and he's savage and he's not the same dude he was. I was like, this is awesome for him. But anyways, going back to Luke coming, this is a big moment for me. There has not been in the entire Star Wars universe, except one time, that brought me back to my childhood and just can melt me. And that's when Chewbacca cries over Princess Leia dying in the last
Princess Leia or Han Solo?
The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, really?
When Chewbacca dies, or when Chewbacca cries about Princess Leia, there was something about that scene that took me back to being a kid. And I don't know what that was, but maybe the deep inner child in Peyton was mourning the death of what they did to Star Wars, like Chewbacca was mourning the death of Princess Leia. But no, this scene with Luke is the closest thing I have felt to being 10 years old in a movie theater when Return of the Jedi came out. Because I remember seeing every single movie in the theater, right? Some of them multiple times. But I remember lining up for hours outside of the theater for Return of the Jedi. I remember watching that. I was 10 years old last Friday. Again, I've heard other people say this. I literally cried. Like, dude, I teared up. It was powerful.
I didn't
and
understand
I knew.
why everyone's like, did you cry? I'm like, why are people crying? I don't get it.
Because they're not Karate Man.
I'm like,
dude, Pete, you're Karate Man.
Let him go.
I didn't care about that, to be honest.
That's what I thought everyone was saying. Did you cry?
No, dude, for me, it was seeing Luke. To me, it was just something like I never thought ever, especially after what they did to him in The Last Jedi, that I would ever see Luke Skywalker. And I'll be honest, I was not impressed by the scene in The Rise of Skywalker where they digitized Luke and Leia and had them sparring. I did not like that scene. I didn't like that Leia kicks his butt, would never happen, right? I didn't, but again, it was more girl power. Hey, girl power is great, but don't keep making every woman just automatically stronger than every man because she's a woman, which is what they've been doing with Star Wars.
I didn't buy the whole, and she quit that night. Like, seriously? You've been training to be a Jedi all this time, and then, because one day I'm going to have a kid, and whatever.
Let me tell you something. Princess Leia, her character was such that if she had some power to use for the resistance or anything, she would use every single bit of it. She would never put it on hold. That woman was a warrior to the core. Talk about a strong woman. Star Wars used to always get strong women right. And now I feel like with Mandalorian, they're starting to get it again. Bo-Katan, rad, totally believable. The big shock trooper chick I don't even know her name. Totally rad, girl power in the right way. But all this Kathleen Kennedy nonsense that we've been seeing, this like social justice warrior Star Wars crap, not working at all, not believable, right? Princess Leia just beats Luke. No, she didn't. She didn't train with Yoda, right? I mean, she trains with Luke, but Luke ain't no Yoda, You know what I'm saying? Like Luke was trained by the best. So, and Luke goes and studies a Jedi holocron's like, no, Luke is the man. And so you can't, but anyways, when Luke comes in, man, that was awesome. His buckle, his clothes, the black gloved hand, just so good. And they gave the same signal by showing the gloved hand in the same way that they did in The Force Awakens, where you see that vision in that one scene, and you see the black glove touch R2 briefly. Like those little like touches of like, we're not going to show you yet, but we're just going to tip the hand a bit, no pun intended. But we're going to do the same trope here where you just see that black glove and you kind of know. So I love that there was a gradual, like you see him from the back, then you see the lightsaber. Then so X-Wing, black cloak, green lightsaber, then black hand, then the belt buckle, shot from you're still not seeing his face. They led you gently into it. That music, by the way, is insanely good for his entrance. I mean, I know I'm raving right now, but that music is unreal. Like I love the score that they play for his appearance. It was almost tragic. It was this weird, it's not like a joyous, it's almost like a somber tone when he's coming in. It's majestic. To me, it was likened to when you watch Polar Express. Closest to pick. Pete had to get up and walk away. I think I've crossed the line.
All right.
Crossed the line, didn't I? I did something.
Did you really say it's like when you watch Polar Express?
Yes, but hear me. You'll understand what I'm saying. The closest depiction I've ever seen of the majesty of God is in Polar Express when Santa appears and there's that buildup. And to me, it just reminds me of like if God were about to enter the room. And for me, that scene with Luke Skywalker, just taking tropes, motifs, epic, whatever you want to do, however you want to call it, it was like unto the Savior appearing after the death and resurrection when he suddenly appears in the room with the apostles. It was that feel and the way that they did that with Luke. And I'm not trying to be blasphemous. If you're listening, you know what I'm saying. There are certain truths in the universe that will be played out over and over. And yes, this was.
I'm sorry, but you lost me at. It's like when you watch Polar Express,
dude. Go watch that and think about.
I'm not watching that. You can't make me.
What's wrong with you?
You can't make me Kathleen Kennedy.
You're holding a puppy. You're holding a puppy. If you know Soul Pete Mitchell.
Oh,
bah humbug!
This is my girl right here. Ow, ow, biting me.
Hey, I'm gonna send the ghost of Pitbull's past. Ricky and Lucy will visit you tonight before the clock strikes 12 to try to save your soul.
I'm not watching Polar Express. You can't make me.
Have you never seen it?
I don't know. I have no idea. It doesn't sound like a movie I would see.
Pete, you will believe again once you do.
Ooh.
And for those of you that seen it, you understand how awesome that is right there.
There's no one in our audience who's watched it.
Oh, so not true. I expect to see an uproar of our listeners letting Pete know that you watch Polar Express and you love. But anyways, that's my take on Luke. And yes, I was floored. And I was like, oh my gosh, this was amazing. So to me, that whole episode is reduced to the last 5 minutes.
Probably because that's the only part that I went back and rewatched.
Yeah.
I would say that the thing that I hate the most is the dark saber. Like I hate it just as a weapon. It's like, okay, lightsaber.
It doesn't make sense.
No. And why does it have to be so ugly? Like the cool thing about lightsabers is they were blue, they were green, they were red. I mean, that's what they were.
Right.
And now all of a sudden we got white, we got yellow, we got purple. I mean, those aren't, and now we got this black one that just looks ugly. Like it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That doesn't really do it for me.
What doesn't make sense to me, and this is where they lost me, when they introduced the Darksaber, I remember it from the cartoon. It was always kind of meant to be like the Excalibur, the Mandalorians. But I thought it pierced Mandalorian armor, and that's why the ruler had it, because it was the only thing that could pierce it besides a lightsaber. So to me, the other day when they said it can't pierce Mandalorian armor, and I'm like, well, what's the point of it then? Like, it kind of was. They actually took a concept that could have been really cool. Like, you get to reign because you can cut through any Mandalorian's armor. You have Excalibur. That's what Excalibur was.
Right.
It cuts through suits of armor like butter. And that's what made King Arthur so powerful. But now you've got this sword that, can't really cut through Mando, but you get to rule the Mandalorians if you hold it. It was like, okay, that was a misstep. That was dumb.
Well, and it wasn't just you get to rule Mandalorian if you hold it. It was you have to win it in battle. Whereas in the cartoon, it wasn't that way. Cartoon is just if you had it, you could rule.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And so now, like, that's what season 3 is going to be about, is she's going to want to, basically take out the Mandalorian to get the Darksaber.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know. I just
I
don't like the Darksaber. I don't like it as a lightsaber at all. That's why I was saying when Ahsoka is fighting the Mandalorian and like he can hold back the 2 lightsabers with his armors, it's like, no, you can't. You just lost an arm. It's gone.
Right.
That's Star Wars. Otherwise, why don't you just make everything out of that metal and now you don't have to worry about anything?
Yeah. Yeah, true. Well, Brandon Brooks put this. He said, he texted me, he said, apparently Mark Hamill's there and using the process as well. Every reaction video with grown men crying with joy was our age. Right? So he and I are the same age. And he says, I heard your review of last week's. I was confused why Bill Burr took off his helmet the whole time if he was worried about being seen by the Empire. Good point, right?
Except that no one would know because they always wear a helmet.
And then he goes, also, why did the Mandalorian, who never shows his face, have a fine trimmed mustache? That was so good.
That's the best line yet.
So, and, Brandon Brooks is our listener who is a Hollywood insider. So that carries a bit of weight. That's all I'm saying. So anyways, he also said, I watched a thing about Dave Filoni and Favreau rescuing the past in the J.J. Rian Johnson sequels. Luke will be in future shows, they said, with what I believe is with Sebastian Stan. So it's another actor. They picked Max Lloyd Jones, which I would be very interested to know. Any relation to Lloyd Jones? I just wonder. Obviously a Welshman. They say British actor, but usually that's a Welsh person. Lloyd Jones is a Welsh name. And then he said, so anyways. So that's it, man. That's all I got. Holiday meeting, holiday podcast, Mandalorian. There you go.
So while you're watching The Mandalorian, and pretty soon the book of Boba Fett and Andor.
Well, Pete, with 8 new shows with Star Wars and church planning, I don't have time.
Here's the thing. Okay, how many of them are cartoon and how many of them are live action?
You know what's funny is the day they announced the Bad Batch cartoon, which is really like CGI.
Yeah.
This is weird. I just happened because I'm catching up on the Clone Wars, the seasons. I missed the last 2 seasons. I watched it that morning.
You just seen it? Yeah.
Yeah. Like that morning with my coffee, I watched it and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I see. I'm not interested in any of the cartoons. I like live action. I want to see lightsabers.
Dude, I got to tell you.
Classic stormtroopers, apparently.
But see, this is the kind of Star Wars fan that you are that I respect. So one of my church planners in New Breed is he's a purist. He's only seen the first 3, the original 3. And he goes, nope, That's all I'm ever going to
see.
see.
There's no way a real Star Wars fan could just stop at those three.
But in a sense, he is the purest Star Wars fan.
He's not into sci-fi, is what it is.
No, he is.
You could
Dude, I'm telling you,
not watch. You were just the love. He heard so great. You have to give it a shot, and you have to let your hopes be dashed like the rest of us.
He's a real. Let me tell you something. Dude has in his office, like a picture above his desk is
Jesus with a lightsaber.
The entire cast of Star Wars in a band rocking it out with Darth on the mic and Chewbacca on the keyboards or on the drums or whatever. It's a rad picture. Stormtroopers playing bass guitar. It's awesome. And then he's got a Jawa, like a life-size Jawa holding a platter, and he's got something stupid in it, like some bowl or whatever. But he is a real Star Wars fan. But he's like, no one's going to ruin that. No one's going to take that from me. So he is the purist. That's what I'm saying is there's different types of good Star Wars fans.
I get what you're selling. I don't know that I'm buying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I get it. But, if he hears your review of these prequels, he goes, you know what? Why even give myself that kind of pain? I
hear what you're saying. I just don't believe it.
Yeah. Well, so I'm the opposite extreme.
A real Star Wars fan was in line for opening day of The Phantom Menace.
True. And I think you're the mid-range Star Wars fan. I'm the opposite extreme. That is, I will read, I will watch anything that has Star Wars on it, including the Christmas special. I will just take it all in. I'll make my own judgments. I won't like it all. But if it's out there and it's got Star Wars on it, dang it, I'm in line.
Think about how, George Lucas creates an entire universe. How do you pull that off? I realize really Star Wars, the original movie, was really his. And then, he brought in other directors and everything else. But it's how do you do that?
So I've learned this about myself, brother. My heroes in this world have been world builders. Disney, Lucas, Tolkien, and Jim Henson. Those are, to me, my four creative heroes. And a fifth would probably be Chris Metzen, who was the creative director for Blizzard, who created StarCraft, Warcraft. I mean, all these incredible, he didn't single-handedly, but he was the main kind of story creator. He was the guy. So world builders to me are the most impressive people. And because of what you just said, Tolkien was probably the first of his kind, right? To really do, or perhaps I suppose we could go back as far as King Arthur, right? But I mean, ultimately, I suppose we worship a world builder, quite literally. It's what God did. So when you see these guys, they're doing on a micro level, they're embodying an aspect of God. They've created a whole world, populated it with lore and legend and people and morals and afterlives. And I mean, it's pretty epic. And I see a glimpse of God in that. And I think it glorifies God, that creative ability that they have. But here I am waxing theological. So to answer your question, yes. Simplified Church, my friend, simplifiedchurch.com.
What? Simplifiedchurch.com?
Yeah, simplifiedchurch.com. They don't create worlds, but what they do is they create worlds of time for you, Pete, to actually. Do you want some crackers with that cheese? Yeah. So what they actually do is they help you do IRS compliance. They'll send out end of year tax receipts, which if you haven't thought about now, dang it, you got to get those out by the end of July. January, not July, January. Got to get those out by the end of January so people can do their taxes. End of year tax receipts. Got to have those out. And if you haven't thought about that, you probably ain't going to have nobody giving to you next year. So hurry up and get that crap out. Go to simplifiedchurch.com, get in touch with Josh Henry, and tell him that Peyton and Pete sent you.
Cool. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, my friend. Well, hey, thanks for joining us today for this very special episode of the Church Planner Podcast, the holiday edition, which we're coming at you. Normally, we don't know what we would have done for a holiday edition, but because Mandalorian Season 2 had a grand finale.
We thought we would too.
Yeah. And hey, we just want to call out J.J. Abrams, who said we can't satisfy the original trilogy fans while also appealing to a new, younger audience. That was his statement. It was kind of an excuse for the last movie. And Brandon Brooks sent over a meme that showed Dave Favreau.
It says, "Hold my beer."
Hold my beer. And we're going to end on that note. 2020, hold my beer. And let's hope that 2021 is more like Jon Favreau and we see the back of 2020, which is more a bit like J.J. Abrams.
Where's Rian Johnson fit into all of this?
Rian Johnson is 2020. Yeah, that's a really good point. I think 2019 was hopeful like JJ, but 2020 was Rian Johnson. It tanked the whole thing. So, guys, this has been Peyton Jones and Pete Mitchell reminding you, if you want to reach the ones nobody's reaching, you need to go where nobody's going, like Jon Favreau, and do what nobody's doing, like Dave Filoni.
Thanks for joining us for another weekly episode of the Church Planter Podcast with Pete Mitchell and Peyton Jones. We'd love to hear your comments on this episode of the Church Planter Podcast. Visit us online and let us know what you thought at churchplanterpodcast.com. If you subscribe to us via iTunes and have enjoyed the podcast, leave us a positive review. The more positive reviews we receive in iTunes, the more iTunes will promote us to other church planners who would benefit from this show. This podcast is brought to you by the Church Planter Magazine, which is available in the iTunes newsstand or online via churchplantermagazine.com.